Look at a chimpanzee. Now look at a human. We share over 98% of our DNA with chimps, yet they are covered in thick fur, and we are almost completely naked. Why? What happened? Every other primate on Earth kept their fur. So why did we lose ours? The answer goes back millions of years, and it will completely change how you see your own body. To understand why humans lost their fur, we need to go back about 3 to 4 million years ago. Our earliest ancestors were small, furry creatures living in dense forests across Africa. The fur made perfect sense back then. It protected them from the sun, kept them warm at night, and helped them blend into their environment. Life was in the trees, and the trees kept things cool and shaded. Fur was not a problem. Fur was a gift. But then something changed. The climate of Africa began to shift. Over thousands of years, the dense forests started to shrink. Grasslands and open savannas began to spread across the continent. And our ancestors, slowly, over generations, were forced out of the trees and onto the ground. Into the open, into the heat. Out on the open savanna, the sun was relentless. And here is something most people don't realize. The African savanna during midday is brutally hot. Not just warm, dangerous. Animals that couldn't regulate their body temperature would overheat and die. This was now a life or death problem. And fur, the very thing that had protected our ancestors for millions of years, suddenly became the enemy. Thick fur traps heat. On an open plain with no shade, fur meant death. Look at how lions and other savanna animals survive the midday heat. They stop, they rest, they find shade. They simply cannot move during the hottest hours of the day because their bodies can't cool down fast enough. But our ancestors discovered something extraordinary. They could keep moving when every other animal had to stop. And that discovery changed everything. Here's what made us different. Humans have between 2 and 5 million sweat glands covering our entire body. That is more than almost any other animal on Earth. Sweating is one of the most efficient cooling systems in nature. As sweat evaporates from your skin, it pulls heat away from your body. It is essentially a built-in air conditioner. But here is the problem. Fur blocks it. Thick fur traps the sweat against the skin and stops it from evaporating. The cooling system doesn't work if you are covered in hair. So over hundreds of thousands of years, natural selection did what it always does. It rewarded the individuals who were better at surviving. The early humans who happened to be born with slightly less body hair could run longer, hunt longer, and survive the midday heat better than their furrier relatives. They lived, they had children, and those children inherited less fur. Generation after generation, the fur slowly disappeared until what was left was essentially the mostly hairless body we have today. Losing fur didn't just help humans survive the heat. It unlocked one of the most unique hunting strategies in the entire animal kingdom. Scientists call it persistence hunting. Early humans couldn't outrun their prey. A deer, an antelope, a wildebeest, they are all far faster than any human. In a short sprint, we lose every time. But here's the thing. Those animals can't sweat. They cool down by panting, which is far less efficient. So when chased, they overheat quickly. Ancient hunters would chase an animal, not to catch it immediately, but to keep it moving. For hours, under the midday sun, the animal would run, rest, run again. But every time it rested, the human would appear again on the horizon. No rest, no stopping. Just relentless pursuit. Eventually, sometimes after 5 or 6 hours of being chased, the animal would collapse from heat exhaustion, and the human, still cool from sweating, would walk up calmly and make the kill. We literally ran our prey to death, and none of it was possible without losing the fur. Now here's the question you are probably asking. If we lost our fur to survive the heat, what happened when it got cold? Night on the African savanna drops dramatically in temperature, and when humans eventually migrated north into colder regions of the world, they had no fur at all to protect them. The answer is actually one of the most important developments in all of human history: clothing and fire. Humans didn't just adapt biologically. They adapted intellectually. Instead of growing fur back, they took the fur from animals they hunted and wore it themselves. They learned to control fire for warmth. For the first time in evolution, a species was using its brain to solve what the body couldn't do alone. But here is something fascinating. We didn't lose all our hair. Look at your head. Why do humans still have thick hair on their scalp when the rest of the body went bare? Scientists believe the answer is simple. The head is the part of the body most directly exposed to the sun. When you are standing upright on an open savanna, the top of your skull takes the full force of the sun's rays all day long. Hair on the head acts as a natural shield, protecting the brain from overheating. Lose the body fur to cool down. Keep the head hair to protect the brain. Evolution found the perfect balance, and losing fur had one more massive consequence. It exposed skin directly to sunlight for the first time. When our ancestors still had fur, the skin underneath was mostly pale. But now, with bare skin under the African sun all day, that pale skin was getting bombarded by ultraviolet radiation. UV rays destroy folate, a nutrient absolutely critical for healthy pregnancies and survival. So natural selection once again went to work. And over thousands of generations, humans in sun-intense regions evolved darker skin, packed with melanin, to protect against UV damage. That is why the earliest humans had dark skin. And as humans migrated to regions with less sunlight, like Northern Europe, the skin gradually became lighter again. Because in low sunlight areas, you need to absorb as much UV as possible to produce vitamin D. Everything connects. Losing fur set off a chain reaction that explains why humans today come in so many different skin tones. So the next time you feel cold and wish you had fur, remember this. Losing that fur is part of the reason you are alive today. It made you a better hunter, a better runner, a more adaptable survivor. It pushed your ancestors to invent clothing, master fire, and use their minds in ways no other animal ever had. A small biological change, losing body hair, set off a chain of events that eventually produced language, civilization, and everything humans have ever built. It all started with the fur we never had. If you found this fascinating, there is so much more. Every part of your body, every behavior you have, every instinct you feel, it all has a story that goes back millions of years. Subscribe to Primordly. And next time, we will ask another question you never thought to ask.